When the world was torn apart by a furious twister, all hope seemed lost, until one brave dog followed a single tiny scent through the wreckage. Hit that like button and subscribe, because you won't believe how this miraculous rescue ends. The morning dawned deceptively calm. In the distance, broken power lines drooped like defeated soldiers, and shredded rooftops glistened with damp debris. Tiny shards of window glass littered the streets, reflecting the pale, fearful faces of neighbors surveying the ruin. A violent tornado had ripped through this once quiet town just hours before, leaving a path of chaos in its wake. Homes were flattened, trees uprooted, and cars overturned like discarded toys. Amid this colossal destruction, the most heart-wrenching discovery shook everyone. 6-year-old Lily Thompson was missing. Paramedics and volunteers swarmed the scene, their voices a tense chorus against the groan of creaking timbers. Some carried stretchers. Others handed out blankets to shivering survivors. Parents clutched their children close, eyes brimming with gratitude and mounting dread for Lily's safety. Posters bearing her smiling photograph fluttered on telephone poles and billboards alike. "Have you seen her?" the text pleaded. Every face in town carried the same question. Enter SuperRetriever, Rex, the town's golden hero, clad in his distinctive blue cape emblazoned with a crimson R where Superman's S would be. Rex stood poised amid the chaos. His amber eyes scanned the horizon, nostrils flaring with determination. As a trained search and rescue dog, he had faced dangerous missions before, but nothing on this scale. Yet something in his heart told him this assignment was the most important of his life. Nearby, Lily's frantic mother, Sarah, knelt outside the rubble of their home, clutching Lily's favorite stuffed cat, an orange tabby with button eyes. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she whispered her daughter's name into the debris. Rex approached quietly, tapping into Sarah's distress. He lowered his head in solidarity and gently nudged her hand with his cold nose. In that moment, words weren't needed. Sarah knew Rex would find her baby. Chief Martinez, in his navy blue uniform, watched Rex with a hopeful glance. "All right, boy," he murmured. "Show us the way." He clipped the bright yellow search leash onto Rex's harness. The dog responded with a single wag, then trotted over to what remained of the Thompsons' front porch. Rex inhaled deeply, whiskers quivering. Amid the stench of upturned earth and splintered wood, a faint, sweet smell caught his attention, a mix of strawberry shampoo and mildew, undeniably Lily's. He paused, mid-stride, head tilted. The volunteers fell silent, recognizing the signal. Rex had a lock on his target. Chief Martinez gave a soft whistle. Rex lifted his paw, ready to begin the trail that would lead him and everyone's hopes into the heart of danger and ultimately to a miracle. Rex's paws trod carefully over the uneven rubble as he began his search. The air still carried a sharp tang of ozone, mingled with dust and splintered wood. Volunteers parted before him, their faces a mix of awe and anxiety. Clipped to his bright yellow harness, the search leash hung loose. Rex needed no guidance. Now, he had already caught the scent. He paused by an overturned picnic table, head low, nostrils quivering. His keen canine senses sifted through dozens of overlapping smells. Gasoline from ruptured tanks, charred leaves, and the acrid smoke that lingered in hollows. But beneath it all lay a delicate sweetness, strawberry shampoo and freshly laundered cotton. Lily's scent. Chief Martinez crouched at Rex's side. "Good boy," he whispered, pressing a comforting hand to Rex's shoulder. Volunteers held their breath as Rex surveyed the area, ears pricked forward. He took a decisive step into a narrow crevice formed when a fallen beam gouged the earth. Inside the gap, shadows danced in the battered sunlight. Rex inched forward, muscles coiled like springs. The gap widened into a shallow trench. Above, twisted metal framed the sky like jagged teeth. Rex's paw brushed against a fragment of fabric, the hem of a pink sweatshirt. He sniffed it reverently, then let out a soft, urgent bark. "Over here!" Martinez called, and the rescue team surged forward. But Rex had shifted his focus deeper into the trench. He ducked under another beam that hung precariously, eyes fixed on a dark opening beneath a collapsed fence. His tail flicked, an invitation for the team to follow, but also a warning that danger lay ahead. Meanwhile, Sarah Thompson knelt on the other side of the site, clutching the stuffed tabby. She felt a tug at her heart, as though Lily were sending a silent plea. Nearby, Rex's faint barks echoed, reaching her ears. Hope flared in her chest. Rex padded closer to the cave-like entrance, lowering his body to crawl inside. The opening was barely 2 feet high, lined with jagged edges. He took a deep breath, braced himself, and slipped into the darkness, whiskers brushing against damp stone. A final bark signaled to the team, "I'm on the trail." Above ground, the wind whispered through broken roofs as the storm's fury felt miles away. Rescue workers exchanged determined glances. If Rex could follow this path, they might yet find Lily alive. As Rex ventured into the tunnel, his heart pounded with purpose, every fiber of his being focused on that tiny life waiting somewhere ahead. Hook. Rex disappears into the shadows, but what awaits him in the heart of the cave? Rex slipped through the shadowed tunnel and emerged into a narrow shaft carved by fallen debris. The air grew cooler, damp, and thick with the scent of earth. Each paw placed on unstable rock sent tiny pebbles skittering into the darkness below. Overhead, shafts of sunlight pierced gaps in the wreckage, revealing a maze of splintered beams and twisted metal that formed a labyrinthine network beneath the town. The golden retriever's keen eyes adjusted swiftly to the dim light. He moved with deliberate caution, weaving between jagged rebar and splintered wooden boards. The ground beneath him gave way in places, pockets of loose soil threatening to collapse at any moment. Yet Rex's balance and agility were unerring. His powerful legs propelled him forward, while his body stayed low to avoid unseen hazards. Behind him, faint echoes of the rescue team's footsteps and muffled voices kept pace. Chief Martinez signaled for silence, knowing that every stray noise could spook Rex, or more importantly, scare Lily. Volunteers followed at a respectful distance, their flashlights bobbing like will-o'-the-wisps among the debris. A sudden crash startled Rex. A wooden plank, dislodged by his passage, tumbled down a crevice, disappearing into the black below. Rex paused, chest heaving, whiskers twitching. He raised his snout, sniffing the air for any sign of the little girl or her cat. The strawberry and cotton fragrance was faint but persistent, guiding him onward. He rounded a bend where the tunnel widened into a cavern formed beneath the collapsed foundation of an old community center. Broken chairs and desks lay strewn about, silent witnesses to the building's final moments. A fractured, stained glass window, once a vibrant array of colors, now lay shattered at Rex's paws, its pieces reflecting his shining coat in kaleidoscopic flashes. Rex crouched beside a toppled shelf, his nose brushing against a small tuft of auburn hair caught on a splintered edge. His tail began to wag, slowly at first, then with increasing vigor. The scent was unmistakable. He let out a gentle, excited whine. Chief Martinez whispered, "You've got it, boy. Lead the way." He illuminated the path ahead with his flashlight, revealing a corridor of collapsed wooden beams. Rex crept forward, using his body to nudge aside lighter debris. His cape fluttered with each movement, the crimson R visible in the narrow beam of light. Suddenly, a loose beam groaned above him. In a heartbeat, Rex darted sideways, narrowly avoiding being trapped by the falling wood. Dust and splinters filled the air, making the tunnel feel even more claustrophobic. For a tense moment, Rex lay flat, ears pinned back, heart pounding. Then, with a determined breath, he rose and resumed his quest. The faint meow of Edgar, the cat, echoed through the corridor, Lily's faithful companion. The sound sparked a new wave of energy in Rex. He bounded forward, every muscle coiled with purpose. At the far end of the corridor, Rex squeezed through a tight gap between two concrete slabs. On the other side, in a shallow alcove illuminated by a single shaft of sunlight, huddled Lily. Her knees were drawn to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around Edgar. Tears stained her cheeks, but relief washed over her face as Rex emerged. Rex let out a jubilant bark, then gently nuzzled Lily's hand. She looked up, her eyes wide with wonder. The crimson R on his chest gleamed like a promise. In that instant, fear melted away, replaced by trust and hope. Hook. Rex has found Lily and Edgar, but how will he guide them back through the perilous ruins to safety? The cavern air closed in around Rex, cool and still, as he lingered beside Lily and Edgar. The cat's soft, insistent meow echoed off stone walls like a mournful plea. Rex's ears perked. He recognized the urgency in Edgar's cry. Lily stroked Edgar's fur, her trembling fingers coaxing another weak meow from the cat. "Stay close, Edgar," she whispered. "Rex will get us out." Chief Martinez and the volunteers crowded at the tunnel entrance, their flashlights trained on the rescuer trio. Dust motes danced in their beams, revealing a narrow passage leading deeper into the rock. Though Rex had located Lily, something in Edgar's tone told him the journey ahead held more peril. Rex pressed his chest low against the damp ground, nose quivering as he sniffed for the second time. The strawberry and cotton scent still clung, faintly to Lily's hair, but underneath was another stranger odor, the musky tang of underground water. A hidden stream must be flowing somewhere ahead, and with it, the risk of sudden flooding. He let out a soft wuff, signaling the team to follow. Volunteers slipped into the passage behind him, careful not to jostle the unstable rocks overhead. Lily crawled behind Rex, clutching Edgar tightly. Each step farther from the alcove felt like peeling away from safety, but Rex had never let them down. The tunnel curved sharply, forcing them into near darkness. Martinez switched his flashlight to high beam, revealing slick stone walls streaked with mineral deposits. Water dripped from the ceiling in rhythmic taps, each drop echoing like a clock counting down. At the bend, the ground sloped downward toward a shallow pool that reflected the pale light. Edgar hissed softly, perched on Lily's lap, wary of the cold water. Rex took the lead, paws grazing the glistening surface. He sniffed at the water's edge and detected a fresher whiff of Lily's shampoo coming from a fissure just beyond. He plunged forward without hesitation, pausing only long enough to glance back at Lily, as if to reassure her that the water was safe. Lily gulped and followed, gingerly placing her hands on Rex's back to steady herself. Edgar's meows grew, louder, as if urging them onward. Beyond the pool, the passage opened into a wider chamber. Faint daylight filtered in through cracks above, forming greenish shafts where moss clung to damp stone. In the center, a narrow ridge of solid rock arched across a deep trench where muddy water pooled. On the far side stood a collapsed support beam half submerged at an angle. Beyond that, the cavern narrowed again, promising an exit. Rex sniffed deliberately at the beam, calculating his jump. He bolted forward, muscles coiled, and leaped across the muddy trench with effortless grace. Lily watched with wide-eyed wonder, heart pounding. The beam held Rex's weight, and he turned back to bark encouragement. Volunteers held their breath, ready to catch Lily, but Rex darted down the trench's edge and leaped back across, pushing a smaller rock slab into position. Lily scrambled after him, following the makeshift path. Twice she slipped, but Edgar's meow spurred her onward. The volunteers helped guide her across the trench, then lifted her gently onto the final ridge. Rex stood at the chamber's mouth, cape fluttering, ears cocked as he awaited her. As Lily and Edgar emerged from the wider chamber, a stronger shaft of light struck them. The sense of impending danger eased and was replaced by cautious optimism. Edgar leaped down from Lily's arms and trotted to Rex's side, nuzzling his paw. Rex nudged Lily forward, signaling the narrow exit ahead. Hook. On the other side of this chamber lies freedom, or a new, hidden threat. Will Rex's instincts lead them safely to daylight? Beyond the mossy chamber, the tunnel narrowed to a pitch-black corridor barely wider than Rex's shoulders. Volunteers switched off their flashlights to conserve batteries, trusting Rex's instincts to guide the way. Lily pressed close behind him, her small hand resting on the golden retriever's back for reassurance. Edgar's paw pads clicked softly on the damp stone as he followed, his fur bristling with apprehension. Rex paused at the entrance, nostrils flaring as he sampled the air. The scent of Lily remained present, but now mingled with something acrid. Perhaps the lingering smell of a gas line ruptured during the tornado. He shook his head decisively and padded forward, ears flattened to catch any warning sounds. The volunteers remained silent, their breaths shallow in anticipation. Almost immediately, Rex felt the ground slope steeply downward. He descended with care, muscles taut, as water dripped steadily from the low ceiling. Each drop loomed like a giant pearl in the beam of his internal focus. Tiny stalactites glistened overhead, and the walls were slick with moisture. Suddenly, the floor vanished beneath a shallow undercut. Rex's paws skimmed a hidden pool. He leapt nimbly to the far edge, then turned back to bark softly, signaling Lily to follow. Lily swallowed her fear and stepped onto Rex's back. Clutching his fur, she slid across the slippery stone, heart pounding. Edgar leaped after her, claws scratching for purchase. At the far edge, Rex braced his hindquarters and gently tipped Lily forward onto solid ground. She landed in a crouch, then scrambled to her feet, breathless but determined. They pressed on, the corridor twisting in on itself. Midway through, an enormous boulder lay wedged overhead, threatening to crush anyone beneath. Rex approached, head low, and nudged the rock with his strong snout. Inch by inch, he levered it aside, his cape brushing the damp floor. Volunteers behind him steadied the boulder with levers and pry bars until it shifted enough to create a narrow gap. Rex slipped through first, then turned and barked encouragement. Lily and Edgar followed, crouching low as the rock settled behind them with a rumble. At last, the corridor opened into a cavernous chamber blanketed by faint luminescence. Bioluminescent. Fungi clung to the walls, casting an eerie green glow. In the center lay a slick stone path leading upward, carved by underground water over centuries. Rex paused at the foot of the rise, sensing a fresh breeze wafting from above. The promise of open air was near. His amber eyes met Lily's. With a confident bark, he bolted up the path, cape billowing like a comet's tail. Volunteers and Lily followed suit, hearts alight with hope. Edgar, recovered from his fear, perched on Rex's back for the climb, his soft meows harmonizing with the dog's excited panting. Hook. A sliver of daylight peeks through a crack in the ceiling. Freedom is within reach. But can they scale the final ascent before darkness reclaims them? A low, distant rumble reverberated through the bioluminescent chamber as the group paused at the base of the final ascent. Lily's heart thudded in her chest, each beat magnifying the cavern's hollow acoustics. Edgar's fur stood on end, and with a sharp hiss, the cat darted behind Rex, seeking the dog's steadfast warmth. Above them, water dripped in uneven cadences, amplifying the sound into a haunting symphony of plinks and plonks. Rex lifted his head, ears swiveling to catch every echo. The roar wasn't just the subterranean drip, it was the cavern itself, whispering threats of collapse. Slim stalactites quivered overhead and loose stones shifted underfoot. Each sound sent a shiver through Lily, who huddled close behind Rex, fingers gripping his damp fur. Her breath came in shallow gasps. Sensing her terror, Rex pressed his side gently against her leg, offering silent reassurance. His amber eyes gleamed in the fungal light as he scanned the ceiling, then looked back at Lily with unwavering confidence. With a soft, soothing bark, he invited her to lean on him. Lily swallowed hard, steeling her trembling knees. Chief Martinez knelt beside her. "It's okay," he murmured. "Rex knows the way." He shone his flashlight up the slope, revealing narrow footholds carved by centuries of seepage. The path spiraled upward into darkness, but at its crest, a sliver of daylight shone like hope incarnate. Edgar meowed softly, brushing against Rex's flank. The dog nuzzled the cat, then took a step toward the incline. Lily forced herself to follow, one trembling foot in front of the other, guided by Rex's steady gait. Each echoing drip sounded closer now, like time running out. Dust rained down in tiny crystals, as if warning them to hurry. Halfway up, the footing shifted. Loose gravel slid beneath Lily's boot. Rex spun around, barking sharply, and planted himself to block her fall. He circled behind her, allowing Lily to lean against his back as she regained her balance. Volunteers above offered hands, pulling her forward, but Rex's presence was the anchor she needed. As they climbed higher, the echoes softened, replaced by the rustle of distant wind. Edgar leaped from Rex's back to a stony ledge, perching there with vigilant eyes. Rex pressed onward, weaving through tight crevices until at last, the daylight grew stronger, warming the damp tunnel walls. Lily exhaled, warmth flooding her cheeks. She reached out to stroke Rex's head, whispering, "Thank you." The dog nudged her hand, tail wagging despite the exhaustion in his eyes. Hook. The final barrier lies ahead, a narrow vertical shaft to the surface. Can Rex and Lily scale it before the cavern's unstable roof gives way? Beyond the spiraling ascent, the passage opened into a small alcove bathed in a soft golden glow, a natural skylight where sunlight filtered through a crack high above. Warmth seeped into the damp air, chasing away the chill of the depths. Lily blinked, amazed at the sudden brightness. Edgar stretched luxuriously, munching on a small tuft of moss as if celebrating. Yet Rex remained vigilant, ears perked and body poised between the light and the alcove's shadowed entrance. Lily sank to her knees, drawing Edgar onto her lap. She dug into her pocket and produced a half-eaten granola bar. "Here, Edgar," she coaxed, breaking off a crumb. The cat purred and nibbled gratefully. Then Lily offered the rest to Rex, who chomped it down with a wag of his tail. Volunteers, relaxed in the warmth, sharing smiles as they refueled. The team's medic, Nurse Vega, knelt beside Lily and checked her for scratches and bruises. "You're doing great," she said, applying a soothing antiseptic to a scraped knee. Lily managed a shaky smile. As Rex drank from a small pool of filtered rainwater, Edgar leaped from Lily's lap and rubbed affectionately against Rex's legs. The bond between dog, cat, and child had never been stronger. Yet the alcove's floor tilted steeply toward another narrow exit, only a foot wide, framed by jagged rock. The final challenge awaited. Chief Martinez approached, voice soft. "Almost home, kiddo." He tapped the rock frame, testing its stability. "This is it. One last crawl, then you're out." Lily glanced at Rex. His amber eyes held nothing but confidence. She gently stroked his head. "Lead me, Rex." she whispered. Taking a deep breath, Lily rose. She tucked Edgar securely into her arms and advanced toward the gap. Rex stepped forward, pressing his side against the narrow rock wall to widen the passage for Lily. Volunteers knelt on either side, guiding her arms through the tight opening. Lily crawled with determination, using the dog's broad back as a makeshift ramp. Edgar nuzzled Rex's shoulder, purring encouragement. Halfway through, Lily's foot caught on a protruding shard of stone. A sharp cry escaped her lips. Instantly, Rex shifted, offering his flanks as a shield and a step. Lily pressed her foot onto his side and pushed forward, muscles trembling but spirit unbroken. Within seconds, she slipped free of the gap and tumbled into the sunlight beyond. Edgar scrambled beside her. Rex emerged last, scraping his cape on the rock edges but emerging unscathed. He paused at the mouth of the alcove, chest heaving, then bounded to Lily's side. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing her cheek into his damp fur. Edgar hopped onto Rex's back for one final nuzzle. In that golden moment, the shadows of the cave fell away, replaced by Hope's radiant light. Hook. Though they've escaped the darkness, the path back to safety still winds through the storm's ruined landscape. Will Rex guide Lily and Edgar home before nightfall? Bright daylight spilled onto the uneven ground as Rex led Lily and Edgar out of the cave's maw. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and crushed foliage, a stark contrast to the damp, fetid tunnels they'd just traversed. Sunbeams danced across overturned cars and tangled power lines, turning splintered wood and twisted metal into a surreal maze of broken shapes. It was as if the world had been shattered and then recombined in a new, dangerous form. Rex paused at the cave entrance, cape fluttering in the warm breeze, and sniffed the air. He caught the faint aroma of fresh grass from a ruined backyard, just beyond a pile of debris. That's the way out, he seemed to think. Lily squeezed his harness strap, trusting his instincts completely. Edgar nestled against her chest, wide-eyed but calm now that light had returned. Chief Martinez waved forward the volunteer team. Together, they knelt to clear a path through the wreckage. Volunteers hoisted twisted metal sheets aside. Others pried up broken planks to create a narrow walkway. Every movement threatened to send a cacophony of clanging and crashing through the silent aftermath, yet Rex remained focused, moving with unwavering purpose. The first obstacle was a toppled garden wall, its cement blocks strewn haphazardly. Rex nudged a loose cinder toward a gap at the base, then pawed at it until he'd enlarged the opening enough for Lily to slip through. She held Edgar close, brushing bits of dust from his fur as she crawled. Once she was free, Rex darted through and stood guard as volunteers stabilized the remaining stones. Beyond the wall lay a shallow trench, filled with glistening rainwater. Broken branches crisscrossed the surface like a makeshift bridge. Rex tested each limb with a careful paw before stepping across, his cape sweeping water droplets into the air. Lily followed, stepping onto the branches with slow precision. Edgar mewed encouragement from Lily's shoulder. Midway across, a branch shifted, and Lily's foot splashed into the water. Rex barked sharply, and volunteers quickly steadied her, guiding her safely to the other side. The next hurdle was an overturned delivery truck, its cargo spilled in a clutter of cardboard boxes and plastic crates. Rex sniffed out a narrow gap beneath the driver's door. He squeezed himself through, then nudged boxes aside with his nose to widen the space. Lily ducked under the truck's chassis, Edgar tucked under her arm. The volunteers joined, relieved to see the trio emerge unharmed on the far side. At last, they reached an open stretch of road choked with debris. The rescue convoy of ambulances, fire trucks, and utility vehicles blocked the path, their lights flashing in the afternoon sun. Paramedics and engineers worked in concert, their shouts and equipment noises filling the air. Lily's mother, Sarah, stood at the front of the crowd, clutching fresh blankets and scanning every face. When her eyes locked on Rex and Lily, she gasped and burst forward. Rex barked joyfully and leapt toward Sarah, tail wagging furiously. Lily broke free of her volunteer's grasp and ran into her mother's arms, Edgar cradled against her shoulder. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks as she embraced her daughter. "Oh, my sweet girl," she sobbed. "I thought I'd lost you." Chief. Martinez approached, kneeling beside Sarah. "You're safe now," he said softly, eyes misting. He looked to Rex, patting his head. "Good work, boy." Rex wagged his tail, then trotted over to Lily. She knelt and wrapped both arms around him, pressing her cheek into his damp fur. Edgar nuzzled Rex's neck in a final salute. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers echoing against the battered buildings. As Sarah guided Lily toward the waiting ambulance for a quick medical check, Rex stood at the road's edge, cape fluttering, silhouetted against the broken skyline. In the distance, clouds gathered on the horizon, a reminder that nature's fury could return without warning. But for now, peace prevailed. Hook. With Lily safe and the town breathing a collective sigh of relief, what new challenges will SuperRetriever face as storms threaten again? Rex led Lily and Edgar toward the distant rise of cracked pavement that marked the edge of a partially collapsed embankment. Broken streetlights lay like fallen sentinels, their wires snaking across the ground. The hill ahead was littered with loose rubble and slick, rain-soaked dirt, a perilous ascent for the small child and her cat. Volunteers fanned out, ready to assist, but Rex insisted on taking point. He barreled forward, front paws digging into the crumbly surface, cape snapping in the gusting breeze. Lily followed closely, clutching Edgar's soft fur against her chest. Each step upward sent stones tumbling downward, rattling against exposed rebar and splintered wood. Rex paused at an especially steep section where a massive slab of asphalt jutted at a sharp angle. With a confident whine, he backed up and charged, launching himself onto the slab. His claws found purchase and he scrambled up, tail high. Lily watched his movements, imprinting each paw placement in her mind. When Rex reached the top of the slab, he turned and barked encouragement. Lily swallowed her fear and planted her feet on the angled surface, arms wrapped around Edgar for balance. At first, her boots slipped, and she slid a few inches back, but Rex darted to her side and placed his body as a brace. She gripped his damp fur, heart pounding, and inched upward. Edgar let out a soft mew, and Lily whispered, "I've got you, Edgar." Above them, storm clouds roiled on the horizon, dark and ominous. A distant rumble of thunder mingled with the wind through broken power lines. Time was running out. Volunteers formed a human chain along the ridge, reaching down to stabilize Lily's arms. With one last heave, she pulled herself onto firmer ground beside Rex, who shook himself, sending droplets flying. But the embankment wasn't finished. A loose chunk of concrete split off nearby, clattering down the slope and sending a small slide of gravel toward the group. Rex lunged to intercept, barking sharply to warn Lily and the volunteers. He shoved against the shifting mass with his shoulder until it ground to a halt. The detritus formed a shallow barrier, buying precious seconds. Lily hugged Edgar tightly before scampering past Rex to the summit. At the embankment's crest, they stepped onto an overturned fire hydrant, water still oozing from its broken valve. The air smelled of wet asphalt and fresh rain. Sage bushes that once lined the street lay flattened, their fragrant leaves crushed underfoot. Beyond lay the main road where rescue vehicles clustered around a makeshift triage station. Lily's mother, Sarah, stood at the front, waving wildly. Rex sprinted ahead, padding across shattered concrete, and skidded to a stop at Sarah's feet. Lily and Edgar burst through the volunteers, and Sarah swept her daughter into an embrace, knocking a clipboard from a paramedic's hand. Edgar tumbled from Lily's arms into Sarah's lap, meowing joyfully. Rex sat obediently, cape draped over his haunches, watching the reunion. Above them, the storm unleashed its first fat drops of rain. Lightning arced across the sky, illuminating the battered town in stark relief. But in that moment of reunion, the tempest's roar felt distant, a backdrop to the miracle unfolding below. Hook. With safety within grasp, can Rex and Lily beat the coming storm to reach the warmth and shelter waiting just beyond the road? At the crest of the ridge, the rain fell in steady sheets, turning the ground to slick mud. Volunteers hurried to spread tarps and create a dry path to the triage station. Rex lowered his head into Lily's outstretched hands, letting her brush away the mud from his fur. Edgar perched on Rex's head, his whiskers dripping with rain, while Lily's mother, Sarah, wrapped her daughter in a warm blanket. Rex led the way across the soaked street, pausing at each step to ensure Lily and Edgar could follow safely. Water pooled around smashed curbs and gnarled roots. Street lamps flickered above, their broken bulbs casting trembling pools of light. Despite the storm's fury, every eye on the street was fixed on the little trio navigating the chaos. They reached the triage station, a cluster of tents lit from within by portable lamps. Paramedics called Lily's name and guided her to a folding chair. Sarah knelt beside her, gently checking Lily's damp clothes and offering sips of warm water. Edgar curled on Lily's lap, purring softly. Rex sat loyally at their side, cape plastered to his sides by the rain. Chief Martinez approached, rain dripping from his hat brim. "All clear here," he reported, nodding to the paramedics. "She's in good hands." He patted Rex's head. "You did it, boy." Rex responded with a quiet bark, eyes shining with pride. A gust of wind tore through, and a crack of thunder rolled overhead. Volunteers scrambled to secure equipment, but Lily stood and strode to Rex, wrapping her tiny arms around his neck. She buried her face in his wet fur. "Thank you," she whispered, voice muffled but heartfelt. Edgar meowed in agreement. Nearby, the town's mayor arrived, cascading official aides in tow. She knelt before Rex, visibly moved. "Your bravery brought her back," the mayor said, placing a glittering medal emblazoned with an R around Rex's neck. Cameras flashed as the crowd cheered through the rain. Lily's tears of fear turned into tears of joy as she watched her hero honored. Under the dripping tents, Sarah held Lily close. "You're our miracle," she murmured to Rex. He wagged his tail, rainwater flicking like sparks. Edgar leaped down and trotted around Rex's feet as if to say, "We're all safe." Hook. As the storm begins to subside, the town rallies to rebuild, and SuperRetriever's legend grows. But when a new disaster looms on the horizon, will Rex answer the call once more? With the storm finally abating, the townspeople gathered in the makeshift town square, transformed overnight into a scene of hopeful reconstruction. Tents were replaced by rows of folding chairs, and string lights, powered by generators, cast a warm glow over muddy streets. Children clutched plush toys donated by relief volunteers, and neighbors shared hot cocoa from steaming thermoses. At the center, a wooden platform had been erected. Portraits of Lily and Rex, painted by local artists, flanked a banner that read "Heroes Among Us." The mayor tapped the microphone, and cheers rose in response. "Today we honor not just a little girl rescued from the wreckage," she began, voice strong despite the dampness, "but also the heroic heart of our golden SuperRetriever, Rex." She gestured to Rex, seated regally on the platform, cape still fluttering beneath his medal. The crowd erupted in applause. Lily, now wearing a bright yellow raincoat over her clothes, was led to the stage by her mother. She climbed up beside Rex, clutching his paw, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "Thank you, Rex," she said into the microphone, voice clear and brave. "You saved me and Edgar. You're my hero." The audience cheered so loudly that Lily had to cup her hands over her ears and giggle. Volunteers presented Rex with a custom-made doggy bed embroidered with his R emblem and a lifetime supply of his favorite treats. The mayor unveiled a commemorative plaque that would be installed at the town's entry gate. In honor of Rex, whose courage reminds us that hope can always find a way. As night fell, the celebration continued with laughter, music, and stories of survival. Bonfires crackled in barrels, and lanterns swayed overhead. Rex roamed among the people, accepting pats and affectionate rubs. Edgar sat perched on a volunteer's shoulder, surveying the festivities with satisfied purrs. For a moment, the town forgot its fears and losses, united by the miracle that had unfolded. They danced in the mud, their spirits lifted by the bravery of a dog who wore a cape and carried an R. Hook. The town rebuilds, but the legend of SuperRetriver lives on. And when shadows of a new threat emerge, only one hero stands ready to face them. Weeks have passed, and the tornado's scars are gradually replaced by fresh paint and new roofs. The once battered town now buzzes with reconstruction. Teams lay cobblestones where asphalt cracked, carpenters rebuild porches, and children plant saplings in the newly cleared parks. Yet, amid this rebirth, one symbol endures: Rex's blue cape with its bright red R, now framed and displayed in the town hall's foyer. Lily visits every morning after school, clutching Edgar as they approach the hall. She stops before the cape's glass case, presses a small hand against the cool surface, and smiles up at the photograph of Rex in mid-leap, rescuing her from the cave. Edgar circles her feet, purring softly. Lily's friendship with the SuperRetriver has become the stuff of local legend, inspiring a new generation of volunteers who train in search and rescue alongside Rex. On the first anniversary of the tornado, the town gathers again in the same square where they celebrated Rex's bravery. This time, the mayor unveils a life-sized statue of Rex, cape billowing, paw raised, as if signaling hope itself. Lily, now a little taller and braver, places a wreath of wildflowers at the statue's base. Edgar weaves between the crowd, tail held high. Rex, older but still strong, stands beside Lily and Sarah. His fur is flecked with gray, and the red R on his new custom-fitted cape shines proudly. Volunteers lead children on demonstrations of scent-tracking exercises, showing how Rex taught them to find lost items, and, more importantly, to never give up hope. As dusk settles, the statue's spotlight bathes Rex and Lily in golden light. Edgar curls around Rex's paws, and Lily hugs him tightly. A gentle breeze rustles the banner overhead. Forever our hero. In that moment, the town knows that while storms may come again, the courage of a golden retriever and the bond between a girl, her cat, and her dog will always light the way forward.